Looks like a couple people are showing up here finally. Tonight I'm flying solo. I got Brandon has a big project he's working on, so I'm going to be entertaining you guys all by myself this evening. And what we're going to discuss is we're going to talk about these aftermarket parts that we've been getting and why they're causing everybody such a pain in the rear. These parts that we get today, most of the time they don't fit. And what has to happen is you have to massage the part out of the box to get it to fit. Back whenever I started my business back in 1980, I was building engines back then too. And it was so much easier. I tell you what, you literally, all you had to do is you took the part out of the package, you cleaned it, you installed it. That's as simple as it was. Today, we buy a part, and I don't know if it's because there's so many of them being made, and there's so many different applications, and nobody works off the same blueprint. I don't know what's going on, but parts are they're not interchangeable anymore. So we can't just buy a rocker arm and put it on an engine, or buy an engine bearing. Engine bearings are just ridiculous. The engine bearing thing, we got, it used to be that we used Federal Mogul way back in the 80s, and Speed Pro and Clevite, and Michigan 77, because Clevite bought Michigan 77. And so back whenever we could get quality parts that were made in the United States, you'd buy the bearings, and you'd have your crank ground. You didn't have to think nothing of it. What you always tell them, if you want it on the low side, right on spec, or a little on the high side, whatever you wanted, that's what the crank grinder would put it at. And then whenever you got your bearings, you check your bearing clearance, and it was usually within spec. Well, now what we have to do is we got to purchase the bearings ahead of time, put them in the rods. And first we have to get the connecting rod, and we have to get the block and get it line honed if that's what we need to do, make sure the bores are to spec. And then once you do that, then you put the bearings in the connecting rods, and you put them in the block, and you measure the bearing inside diameter for both of them. And then you determine the clearance you want to run, and you tell the crank grinder what you want your crank ground to. Not like it used to be. It used to be the other way around. You had the crank ground, you bought the bearing, and you put it together. Today, what you have to do is you got to buy the bearings first, make sure the bores are right, and then put the bearing in the block and in the rod, measure the bearings, and then tell the crank grinder, okay, I need it to 2.18976 or whatever it is. And it sure makes it a real pain in the ass, and it slows everything down. And that's just one part of the whole engine building thing that's going on right now. This 389 that's sitting here behind me, this is my last problem child. And some of you guys may have seen my videos I was sharing on YouTube about we had a squeak in this thing. And so what happened is normally I use comp cams, roller tip rockers built like this. This is a street engine, does have hydraulic roller cam, but they don't have a lot of spring pressure. So you can use a roller tip rocker. You don't need to use a full roller rocker like a Harlan Sharp or a Comp or something like that. So anyway, the place I buy my parts from did not have any of the Comp cams roller tip rockers, but they had the house brand. So I bought the house brand, and thinking it's okay, and they actually look very similar to the Comp cam rocker. And so long story short, I had put this engine all together, and we got it on the run stand, and this thing's been fighting us from the beginning. The main caps are all screwed up on this block, so we had to literally reposition them. We took all the dowel pins out, repositioned the caps, because they were that far off. There's no way we're going to fix the line bore without doing that. Then we had to put an oversized dowel in it, and then have the block line board and line home. So that was one of the problems we had with this thing. The other thing is it came to us, it was supposed to be a virgin block. Well, it had already been punched 30 over, and well, whoever done it, they must have been doing the blindfold, because no two cylinders were the same, number one. And the other thing was going on, they were all tapered. At the bottom, they were smaller than they were at the top. And that doesn't work because when the piston's still going to the bottom of the board, still got to have the right size board down there. Otherwise, the piston's going to go and seize up in the engine block. And so, anyway, we fixed that. And then the deck was all screwed up on this thing. The cylinder head deck surfaces are all screwed up. There was something else that was messed up on this engine. Anyhow, it's just been one problem after another with this engine. And now we're finally in the home stretch, and we got it on the run stand, and I'm ready to fire this dude up and break it in so we can give it to the customer and go to the next job. So I fired this thing up this week. Actually, was it Monday? Yeah, it must have been Friday last week. Yeah, it was Friday last week. And I fired this thing up, and okay, so let me back up a little bit. That was another problem we had. So the guy brought me the ignition system and the cap, rotors, spark plug wires, spark plugs, yada, yada. I don't have a problem with that. No big deal. And he actually bought good stuff. He bought AC Delco plugs. He bought AC Delco reproduction spark plug wires, cap and rotor. He's got a transistorized ignition for this thing, factory transistorized ignition. It's a 1966, and he's putting in a GTO. So anyway, I put it all together. We get it on the stand, and we're cranking, and it won't run. It won't start. So I've built enough of these engines. I know that if our engines do not start within 2 seconds after I push the start button, there's something wrong. So, I don't keep cranking it. We try to figure out what the problem is, and then we fix it, and then we can start our engine. So this one wouldn't start. So I checked, we had spark at the coil. I checked, we had power going to all the wires. Everything checked out. So I couldn't figure out what it was. So I got frustrated, and I yanked the transistorized ignition out, and I put an MSD one in it, a billet MSD. Now the MSD distributor, some of you know, maybe some of you don't, but the factory AC Delco distributor cap will actually go on those distributors. And so I just pulled the cap off of his factory distributor and put it on the MSD, because all the plug wires are already plugged into the cap. And tried to start the engine, still wouldn't start. I'm thinking, okay, something doesn't add up here. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's my run stand. Maybe the wiring on my run stand's screwed up, because it's been a few years since we've rewired this thing. So I totally rewire the run stand. All new wires on this thing, everything. Negative cables, positive cables, all the leads, all the hot wires, all the negatives, new switches, everything. I put everything brand new on the run stand. So I put all that on there. I'm thinking, this has got to be it. Now remember, I had spark at the coil before. So, but I still thought maybe there was a short or high resistance in a wire. I don't know. And it's easier to just rewire it than it is to try to diagnose the problem. So what I did was rewired it all. And I get everything hooked up, and it's late, so I go home that night. I don't mess with it that day. Come in the next day, hit the start button, thinking, man, this thing's gonna run perfect as soon as I hit the button. Cranks again, still no start. Here, what it was that brand new AC Delco distributor cap. Now, when I say AC Delco, it is a Chinese reproduction AC Delco. And the rotor button or the coil post inside that distributor cap must not be getting continuity or something, because it was not getting any spark through that distributor cap. So Now I put the MSD distributor cap on the MSD distributor and hook all the wires up on it. Boom, thing runs. Thank you God, we got it running. So I'm running this thing and it's only run for about 2 or 3 minutes and I hear this squeaky sound. And I've never heard that before. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on here? What is that squeak? So I don't like running it. When I hear that, that means we got metal to metal somewhere. So I'm not going to run this engine for 15, 20 minutes trying to diagnose this thing. I know some of you guys, whenever I posted the videos of it, said, well, did you get in there with the stethoscope and did you listen here and did you listen there? No, I didn't. And the reason I didn't is because I'm not going to tear up a brand new engine by putting metal shavings in an engine when I don't know what's going on. And to me, it makes way more sense because I'm the professional. I am supposed to know what I'm doing. I am supposed to provide a quality product that is trouble-free when the customer gets it. I am not going to run this engine without knowing the problem. So what I did was I tore it all back apart. I pulled the intake back off. I pulled the valley cover back off. And I showed videos of you guys of all that too. And I checked all the lifters. Checked to make sure the push rods weren't rubbing on the guide holes in the heads. All that stuff. Now, the only thing I did find whenever I tore it down, and it wasn't like, oh my God, this is ugly. The rocker balls were not positioned, or should I say, making full contact inside the rocker arm itself, down in the fulcrum point. The ball sits down in there, and it has shiny spots in random areas on all the rocker arms. So I'm thinking, okay, this isn't good. We can't, this is not good. But I don't know for sure if we got a lifter problem or not. So I tore the engine back apart, pulled all the lifters out of it, made sure they were free in the lifter bores, made sure that all the oil holes or all the oil passages coming up to feed the lifters are all clear. Made sure the galley plugs are in. I've got not a stethoscope, but a scope that I can look inside the engine block and see what's going on inside of there. So I checked to make sure all the galley plugs are in the engine and everything looks good. Everything's where it's supposed to be. The lifters are free. The roller wheels are not running rough. They got oil getting to them. The axles all feel good in them. Everything's good. Everything was fine on the rockers or the lifters. Push rods, another thing I always look for because sometimes it's happened. I've had this happen before. Sometimes the ends of the push rods don't get drilled, and what will happen is you'll have no oil getting to the top of the motor. And but all the push rods had holes in them, and everything looked good there. None of them were bent. Everything was good. So anyhow, what happened was I get it all apart. I check everything over. I don't see no smoking gun. So I put it all back together, and I got to looking at the rocker arms a little bit more, and I could definitely see if I would have left the engine run for any length of time, because of the way that ball was not fitting that socket perfectly inside that rocker arm, that we would have had major issues. It was starting to turn a little bit blue from heat, and so that indicates that even was getting to it, there was no oil getting to that area, and it's because it wasn't fitting evenly across the whole socket of the rocker arm. So what I determined is that the rocker arms was my squeak, and yes, I could have probably ran a little bit longer, and yes, I could have used a stethoscope or maybe what I do, which is a cheap stethoscope. It's a little secret for you, or tip for you guys, is I take a piece of vacuum hose, put it in my ear, and hold it down around there, and it actually works better than a stethoscope. Stethoscope, you actually have to put it on whatever's making the noise. With a piece of vacuum hose, because it's like a megaphone to your ear, you can hold it somewhere, and if it's close, you'll find it, and then you can move over to it and determine for sure that's where the noise is coming from. So just keep that in mind. A little piece of vacuum hose, piece of 5/16 or a little smaller than that, maybe 9/32. vacuum hose or 1/4 inch, and just put it in your ear. Make sure you don't get by any vacuum or anything, because you don't want to hurt your eardrum. But hold that in your ear, and then just hold the other end of it down by wherever you think the noise is at. It'll lead you right to it. I mean, it works really, really well, and I've done that for years. So I could have done that, but the problem with that would have been is I would have had to run the engine longer, and I didn't know what the problem was. I didn't know if it was a cam bearing, didn't know if it was a roller on the lifter. I didn't know if the lifter was seizing up in the block. I didn't know what it was. And I'm not going to run it and destroy a perfectly good engine trying to figure it out. I'd rather tear it apart, spend a few extra hours and a few dollars on gaskets and an oil change than to ruin the engine completely by running metal through the whole engine. So anyhow, after all that, what I've done is I went back to my tried and true. I should have done this from the get-go, and from now on, any of my customers, that's all they're going to get. They're going to get parts I know work. And we went to the Harlan Sharp roller rocker, and the Harlan Sharp rockers, I've used them since I've been in business in 1980 all the way up till now. And in all those years, 40 plus years of using them rockers, I've only had maybe 2 or 3 instances where there was a problem with them rockers. And one of them was somehow they got missed in production. They didn't drill the oil spurt hole on one rocker out of 16, which is weird. And then the other thing that happened was the cups in a set that we bought were not pressed in. They were started to be pressed in, but they didn't get completely pressed in. So somehow that step got forgotten, and apparently it was that whole batch. I don't know. I just got one set of rockers, and that's the way it was. But other than that, we have not had any issues with those rocker arms. Now, they did have a problem with a Chinese company that's copying their stuff, and it's a little bit different color than the original Harlan Sharp Gold, but and then some of them were even blue, and they used the Harlan Sharp name on them. The Chinese are bold. And so anyhow, Mike up there at Harlan Sharp, he was telling me a story. He says, yeah, we kept getting all these rocker arms back, and we couldn't figure out why, because we knew our quality control was good. So anyhow, they finally determined when they got the blue ones back that China was replicating them. And they looked pretty damn close, Mike said. He said it was hard for us to determine. And then they started analyzing the metal and the cups and the geometry and everything. They found out it wasn't their rocker. So anyway, the reason I tell you that story is because I like to buy American-made stuff, not Chinese, as you guys know. And I prefer stuff that I've used for years and years and years because, I know that it works. I'm comfortable with it. And I don't buy it because it's cheap. I don't buy it because it's expensive. I buy it because it works, and that's why I buy it. So, anyhow, sorry about the long rant there on all that stuff, guys, but we're back to good on this engine now, and everything's cool, so I'm going to do a video with it running. But I ran out of time today, so I didn't get to today, but we're moving along. And Brandon's on vacation this week, so not my son Brandon, my employee Brandon. He's in Arizona until Tuesday next week. I think he comes back Monday, but he'll be back Tuesday. But so, anyways, he's out there with his buddy DJ. So I'm flying solo at the shop, and I'm flying solo on my podcast tonight. And so I hope you guys are happy with just me. I got my beer, so I got to put my glasses on. I see you guys commenting, and I can't see them. And I'm doing this with my cell phone, and I can barely see anything. That's what you do, Don. Yeah, are you a Chevy guy? Kansas Freeman. I'm a GM. I'm an all kind of guy. I'll do whatever. It doesn't matter to me. John Boner, I blame the engine builder because I'm cheap mofo. Yeah, the engine builder always gets blamed, unfortunately. But yeah, so it's, you know what, the thing of it is, guys, is you can't jump to conclusions and don't blame your engine builder. because it had a failure. You're gonna have to, you gotta be a detective and try to determine what's going on and not play the blame game. Be honest with yourself, be honest with the parts, be honest with your engine builder, and you'll get to the bottom of it. And if you have to pay for it again because there's something that failed, or maybe you messed up, you got to pay. If it's the engine builder, you know what? Then they got to pay. I mean, it's at least that's the way I do it. But you know, we stand behind our stuff and make sure that everything's right. That's why I didn't run this engine, why I tore it apart instead of running it to make sure it was okay. So anyway, you guys are commenting so fast, can't keep up. People have an issue with flat tappet cams nowadays. Oh yeah, flat tappet cams, we don't want to use those right now. The flat tappets are all coming out of China and they're all junk. And John, I'm always the engine builder. Okay, well then you can blame yourself then. But good analogy. Yeah. Curtis Knight, my car runs like a champ. Nice. Hey Mark, how you doing, buddy? So yeah. So my son, he's got some kind of project. He's doing some 3D print project that he landed, and so he had the rush to get that done tonight. I don't know what's going on with that deal, but so I didn't get to pick on him tonight. Last week, I forgot to tell you guys, it was his birthday on October 2nd, and or October 4th, I'm sorry, October 4th. And I was going to bust his chops on the show, but I forgot all about it. I was in a hurry getting out to his place, and I ended up not thinking, and then we got to talking about other stuff, and I forgot. So, but hey, Eric. But yeah, so you know what, guys? The parts today are just absolutely horrible, and the for engine builder, a lot of our shops in this area, we lost, I don't know, probably I don't know, maybe 15 shops in the last 5 years. And the reason is because they just got tired of dealing with the parts, the quality of parts. And so they just closed shop. So what's that? It's that old truck from Comp Cams that even went to buy new old stock lifters. I'm scared to death of running it. Don't worry about if you got old stock stuff. If you got old stock lifters, you're good. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it, buddy. Like I said, I'm hanging by myself tonight, but and I don't know if my son's watching or not. I know he's working on a project he's got to get finished up, so hopefully he gets that done, and I'll have him back next week. Now, remember, too, he's got his own podcast, not podcast, but channel he's doing, too, so make sure you guys go over and subscribe to that. It's called Big Johnston's Garage. But yeah, so hopefully tomorrow I get to fire this engine up, do a couple videos on it for you guys, and good news is we don't have any oil leaks and that kind of stuff, so I'm pretty confident everything's okay now. It just I had to check everything, and there's nothing in the oil too. I went through the oil, made sure that the oil's all clean on this thing too, and the engine sounds good, everything sounds good now, so it just live and learn. I should have known better. I should not have used that style rocker, well, that brand of rocker, I should say. I've used that style rocker before. Never had any trouble with them, but unfortunately that's not the case anymore, so. But yeah, so even contemplating sending a shop that has a cam break-in machine. It's $100. You know what? You could do that. And I don't know if they break in the cam. Do they do it in your engine, or do they do it on a machine? I've never heard or seen such a thing. But if they have a cam machine that they can stick the cam and lifters in, I can't imagine how they would do that, because there's so many different manufacturers. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you could do that, and that way they can see it before it fails, and all that metal shaving stuff through your engine. Perry, I used the Johnson hydraulic lifters. I don't, it's the only one that we found so far that does not clatter when the engine warms up. We are trying some new ones. Comp Cam came out with a good looking lifter, and I'll share with you guys on YouTube and maybe one of our podcasts. But anyhow, Comp Cam's got a nice looking roller lifter. I should have grabbed it and kept it or brought it with me so I could show you guys tonight. But anyways, if those work out, then I'll let you know. We have a set in an engine, and we're going to try them and see how they work out. And hopefully, I'm not tearing that engine back apart. But but that's where we're at with that. So, life cycle machine test for durability. Yeah, Eric, I have seen Rhodes lifters. I don't like them. I just built it, or not built, but I just did the top end on an engine that a guy had a set of Rhodes lifters in, and I don't like them because they make all kinds of noise, and believe it or not, they don't make any. They make less horsepower, and supposedly they make more low-end torque, but that I haven't personally seen that. And if you get your combo right, you get your timing and your tune right, converter and gear, you don't need to worry about trying to make more low-end torque. Tune the or tune the vehicle for the engine. I don't know, John. It's they call it I think it's a hybrid or a retro. That's what it is. They call it a retro. I have them here. It looks like it's got a cartridge, but I never tore one apart to know. And it's got like a press-in star kind of a retainer in there, so it'd be really, really hard to get out. So I'm not going to tear it apart to find out. Not unless we get one that fails. Then I will. They seem to work well. The lifters are just noisy. I ran them back in the day. I had a 72 Le Mans Sport with a 455 HO in it. And it had a 308 rear end gear in it with a stock torque converter. And I put a Raymer 4 cam in it. Of course, those engines are only 8.5 to 1 compression. And I didn't tear the engine apart, so I couldn't do like we do now and get the compression up to 9 to 1 or 9.5 to 1 and do a good valve job, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, long story short, I thought, you know what, I'm going to throw a set of these road lifters on there and see how it runs. And believe it or not, it ran better with just a regular TRW lifter is what we used to run back then. And it was an anti-pump up lifter. It wasn't a bleed off lifter like the Rhodes. But anyways, the car with the TRW lifter ran 1320s, and with the Rhodes lifter it ran like a 1338. So it was actually a little slower, and it didn't feel any different, and it made all kinds of clatter and noise. And I took them back out and put them. I threw them trash and put the TRWs back in it, so they can hold a higher tolerance on it. So John must have looked into those new lifters that Comp has, and hopefully they're quiet. That's the whole reason we run the Johnsons now, is because of the fact that they're the only ones that run quiet. We tried Lenati's, we've tried Iski. Well, I don't know if Iski makes one or not. We tried Comp Cams. We tried Howard's, and all of them made noise. So the Johnson's the only one that runs quiet and doesn't bleed off too. Phil just went and get another beer. And I think Rick Undersay went and got another beer too. But yeah, rollers make noise. No, the hydraulic rollers, we run, you know what, before we started using a Johnson lifter, I would run a solid roller lifter on the hydraulic profile, and you set them at 2,000 slash. And believe it or not, they're quieter than a hydraulic lifter. I prefer to run that, but guys freak out when I tell them I do that, and they're scared to death they're going to have to adjust their lifters all the time. You don't have to, guys. You do not have to. I'm telling you right now, you can go probably 20,000 miles before you even have to think about adjusting a solid lifter on a hydraulic profile cam. And they make more power, they're more responsive, they're quieter, they're more durable. There's hands down that, in my opinion, is the only way to roll. You use a hydraulic profile ramp and you put a solid roller lifter on it, and that's the way to go. Or you use an asymmetrical cam. An asymmetrical cam is the ramp opens up fast, but it closes slow. So the ramp speed is not the same on both sides, which is a symmetrical cam. On an asymmetrical cam, it opens fast, closes slow, so then that way you don't have to run a lot of spring pressure, and it doesn't beat up the valve train or the valve seat. Let's see, 232, 237, 110, got about 15 inches vacuum. Yeah, that's a pretty good cam. I wouldn't run a Rhodes lifter on that cam. Wire with tighter internally. Supposed to run wire tighter, yeah. We're gonna find out, John. Is roller cam always running now? Yes, that's all we run now, Mike. That's unfortunately because the flat tappet stuff's so bad. Yeah, you know what? Your PT Cruiser might have a solid flat tappet cam in it, because a lot of Toyotas and Hondas do. And in their maintenance manual, they tell you you have to adjust the lifters like every 50,000 miles, I think it is, and they're solid. No float, awesome product. Yeah. I mean, you know, the other part of that too is you got different kinds of hydraulic roller lifters. You got a short travel, and there's like 3 different short travels. They have different distances inside of them. Then they have different bleed rates. There's a lot of science goes into it. And I don't know, maybe I'm old school, but I like simple, and I want it to work. And I don't want to have to worry about it. I don't want to screw it. That's what I want. And whenever I find something that works and I don't have to screw with, that's what I do. So Tim's got some Johnson lifters in his engine we built for him a few years ago. And some of you guys may know, may not, if you were on the show last week, Tim's GTO had a little bit of a, I don't know, close call, but I think a deer hit him. Whenever you tell your insurance company that you got a deer damage, make sure you tell them that the deer hit you, you did not hit the deer. Because believe it or not, if you hit the deer, then they won't pay. If the deer hits you, then they pay. Ask me how I know. So, what you talking about, Shovelhead? Yeah, Shovelhead's had solid lifters in them. Been fine, got close to 3,000 miles now. Crower, hydraulic, I bought it back in 2000. Yep. Yeah, Crower stuff was really good. We used Crower for a long time too. I used Howard's for a long time. I mean, you know what? We didn't have any trouble with flat tappet stuff until probably 4 or 5 years ago, and all this stuff coming out of China. So, hey Ed, what's happening, buddy? Hopefully you guys are making some headway on the Raven. But my brother could prove it. The antlers were in the grill. Yeah, unfortunately, if they're in the grill, that means you hit it. It didn't hit you, unless it went head on with you. No, I don't have a 455 volts in the shop. What that is, that 71 Challenger that we're repainting after the fire here in the shop. It's got our custom color, we call it DCI crazy, or what is it called? Crazy Great Purple or something like that. I forget what our name of it is. But we custom blend the paint on that car. You'll see more videos on it too. Exclusive Johnson lifter market is a big Johnson lifter. Yeah, exactly. Get them to make it mine and put my name on it. But yeah, I like Oldsmobiles though. I love 68, 69. Yeah, who am I kidding? I like all of them. It don't matter. I even like the later model ones. There was I had a customer that used to have I think it was a 1977 Holiday, which is a really cool car. It was a full-size car, but it had bucket seats and Hurst shifter in it. I think it was based, on an 88, Oldsmobile 88, but it was called Holiday, and it was a sports car version of it. It was an automatic, but it had Hurst lightning rods in it and bucket seats. That was a really cool car. Referring to the 389 behind me, I'm not. Oh, no. maybe, I don't know. I thought maybe he seen that purple car sitting back here on in yonder. Yeah, the deer never do have insurance, unfortunately. Comp cams, oh, that just flew by. I lost you. Had a 74 Ford in the shop, really ran strong. Yeah, those are good running cars. I miss my 69 Cutlass convertible daily driver. You know, that was, back in the day, it was so cool. We used to have, for our daily drivers, we had cool cars, guys. I mean, I've had some really cool stuff. My first car was a 68 Firebird. That's what I had in high school. And it was multi-colors because I didn't have any money. I bought it, I can believe this or not, I bought the car back then. This was back in 1977. I bought the car for $100. Now, it didn't run. I had to have it towed home. And I had to put it all back together, but it had different color fender, hood, balance, doors. I mean, it was all different colors, and actually my dad painted it for me, but anyways, we painted the car, and I drove it through high school my senior year, multicolored. 65 Olds Dynamic 88 Holiday Star Special. Yep, that's a cool car too. Yeah, I don't know when they started at Holiday, but those are cool cars. You're right, Phil. That's a lot of words for a car to describe the one model. '75 Grand Prix. I had a '77 Grand Prix. I love that car. That thing rode like it was on air. That was a fun car to drive. I've had a lot of cars. I had a lot of cars. I've had just about every year GTO except for 64 and 04. I had all the other years. In 73, I didn't have 73. And I've had just about every year Firebird up to 81. And I've had a lot of Grand Prix, but not every year. I had a 69, a 70, a 71, and a 77, and an 81, and an 87. Oh, and an 80 Grand Prix too. The spring pressure, what we used to do whenever we would break the cams in, we would take the inner spring out if it's a dual spring. Another thing you can do, and I don't know if they make it, I know they don't make them for Pontiacs, but they make them for Chevys. You could use a lower ratio rocker on it, so it doesn't have the spring pressure. They actually make a 1.2 ratio rocker that you can put on there to break the cam in. And then once you get the cam broke in, then you put your rockers on. But yeah, spring pressure definitely has effect, although I've broken in before when we weren't having any trouble with lifters, with the inner springs in them, and never had any trouble with them. So, what about a 1977 Can-Am? No, I didn't have one. I had a customer that had one of those, and those are badass cars too, with the shaker hood on them. Phil just went by and I couldn't see it. So anyhow, 78, $250, about a 68 Royal Holiday, 455 W33 dual exhaust. Wow, that's pretty cool. Switch pitch 291, do better than 145 miles an hour. But they are clear lit upside down. I'm just kidding. I seen with the air the decal, but yeah. Put the exhaust on the 65 and 168 Nationals. Yep. 86 2+2. Those are cool cars. The Aero Coupes. I think they had to do that for NASCAR. They had to make so many of those cars to make them legal for NASCAR, because they were doing that with the Monte Carlos and the Grand Prix those years. Now they didn't even do break-in. They just, yeah, you know what? I've heard that so many times too. And you know what? They either got really lucky or they didn't know the cam was going bad, one or the other. Because I heard the same thing. I used to have a guy that had a garage next to my old shop, and he told me, he says, I never break into cams. We just fire them up and drive them. Well, if you're driving it and everything's good and you drive it for 15, 20 minutes, you're basically breaking the cam in because it's not idling. And what you're trying to do It's not so much that the cam has to run at 2,000 RPM. The reason they do that is because you got to get the splash from the crankshaft and connecting rods up on the lifters, and that's why you have to run the engine at 2,000 RPM. They recommend 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Some cam companies say an hour. I always ran them like 35, 40 minutes, and we never had any trouble with them. And the other thing is too, you want to vary the engine RPM. You don't want to run it at a constant 2,000 RPM. You know, wrap on it once in a while and splash oil up on it. Make sure the lifters are rotating in the lifter bores, because that's a big problem. If the lifter doesn't rotate in the lifter bore because somebody didn't clean it right or didn't hone it, so it's got a nice crosshatch in there, which actually makes the lifter spin, then you're going to have problems. Burnhorst is still alive. I don't know if he is or not. So, how do the factories break them in? Believe it or not, they would fire that engine up on the line like when it was almost at the end of the assembly line. Now, I heard this from a couple of guys that used to work at GM. And I don't know if Joe Bass is on here tonight or not, because he works at GM in the assembly plant, and maybe he can confirm this. What I heard they did is they would fire that engine up when it was almost at the end of the line and run it at 2,000 RPM, and then the guy that would take the cars and put them out in the lot, he would get in that car and just hammer the throttle and drive it as hard as he could to wherever they parked the cars in the lot. And then I think the dealer, part of the dealer prep back then was supposed to be to finish the initial break-in and do the oil change and check everything out before they deliver it to the customer. 67 Grand Prix convertibles, yeah, those are cool too. Only year you could get a Grand Prix convertible. There was a guy here local that he loved them things. He had like 15 of them. Yeah, so, but apparently we don't have Joe Bass with us tonight. I don't see him commenting on there. Joe Bass's car is running pretty good. I tell you what, I don't know. He's having a little bit of suspension and traction problems, but and I was watching one video. You could see the tire rotating about 1.5 turns, which is typically about 1/10.5. And he went, I think his best was a 10 something. I don't remember if it was a 13 or 10/19. So with traction, he'd be right at that 999 mark for that car. 428 and a 4-speed. Oh yeah. Yep. My dad's got a 69 Grand Prix SJ, or no, maybe it's just a J. But anyhow, it came from the factory with a 428 turbo 400 automatic car, went a 4-speed, but and now it's got a 455 in it we built for him. But it's it was a 428 car. That was like the gentleman's hot rod. You know what? It was like having a GTO, but you know, it had a lot of class to it. It was a classy looking car. Cam brake in the machine. You think it'd be worth 175? Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, you know what? If they can do it, I would send it to them. Let them break it in for 175. I didn't think they would be able to do it for every engine, but if they can do it for a Pontiac or a Chevy, you might have a Chevy, I don't know. Maybe that's why he was asking me if I like Chevys, but I definitely know they got it for a Chevy because that's the most common engine out there. But if you got a Pontiac, I don't know if they'd have the machine to be able to do that. And I don't know how. I've never seen one, so I don't know how it works. Cam, yeah, that's another thing too. You know, to do the cam break-in, you're running the engine at 2,000, 2,500 RPM, and like Robert said, you know what? You're going to overheat the engine if your cooling system isn't up to snuff, or if you don't have the timing set right, or the carburetor's too lean, or you know, if you have open exhaust and you didn't rejet the carburetor, it's going to run lean. It's going to run hot. Or if you get the dreaded water lock in the engine, we have a way to get around that now. We drill the thermostat so the coolant will circulate through even when the engine's not running. But yeah, you overheat the engine whenever you break the cam in, and now you got a brand new engine that you just cooked. I've been able to Cordova since Broadway. Bob was still alive. Hey, go old school. How you doing, buddy? I had to put back on the flex fan and finish the break-in. Yeah, I always run a flex fan anyway. I don't run a clutch fan. And you know, so that brings up a good point there too. You know what, Robert? That blueprints engine, you blueprint says what's involved in blueprints. Put it in a blueprint all your builds. Yeah, I'll answer it here in just a second. But anyhow, clutch fan is designed so that it disengages at a certain RPM when the engine comes up in RPMs. And so if you're trying to break your engine in the shop and you're not driving down the road where it's got air passing over the radiator and your fan stops, guess what? You're going to run hot. So yeah, don't run a clutch fan when you're trying to break into your camshaft. Run a flex fan or the plain solid fan, you know, when it doesn't flex. But don't run a clutch fan because it disengages. Now it does have a heat operated spring in the front of it that makes it engage whenever it gets too hot, but by that time it's too damn late. So yeah, don't do that. Perfect storm, a lot of shit happening. How much time you got left? Out loud. All right. So anyhow, Mike, to answer your question about the blueprint thing, yes, every engine we build, we don't do like a full-on like race blueprint, but yes, we do a basic blueprint on every engine we do. Some of you guys have seen our videos where I told you about how we make all our valve stem heights the same. That way that all the wear patterns are going to be the same on the valve stem tip. The push rods now are pretty damn good that we get. They're all pretty much the same length. It used to be, we used to make our own push rods. I still got the machine in my assembly room where we would buy the tubing, buy the ends, and we'd press them all together, and we'd make sure that they were all the same length. Well, I haven't done that in years and years. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if I still got that machine. I might have scrapped it. But anyways, you know, that's part of the blueprint process. We check all our rockers. That Harlan sharps are pretty consistent. That's why we use them. What else? Valve springs. You want to check all your valve springs. Make sure they're all within 5 pounds of each other whenever you install them. So yes, to answer your question, we pretty much basically blueprint every engine we put together. All the connecting rods are checked, and we check the deck height, make sure it's the same all 4 corners. Yeah, there's a lot that we do in our engine builds that most guys don't do. So I tried one more time a few years later, ran hot, and put back to the flex. Yep. This is just a 30-year-old Ford truck, 60-year-old, and we won't let, they alone. This is a 351 fuel injection, might squeak by with 300 horsepower. And that's all that engine block's good for, so don't make any more than 350 horsepower. It'll break. Look at all the YouTube videos where the block split right down the center. Jeannie just joined us. But yeah, so my flex fan, shroud nice, cool the car out today for a nice long run. Heater works great, point where I feel I could drive it out to Norwalk. Oh, you should be able to, Mike. That thing, you drove it down to my shop, so you should be able to go anywhere that thing. It should be fine. The 5.0s, yeah, I thought the 5.8s, some of the 351 blocks had problems too. If it wasn't a Canadian or a Mexican, I don't know, Australian, they got their engine blocks made all over the world, so I don't know which ones are good and which ones are bad. Hey Mark, how you doing, buddy? You can watch it later. That's a cool part about using YouTube. They record it so you can go back and catch up on everything we went over. So pretty much we were just talking about crap parts we're getting out of China nowadays. Ron, I missed Ron. I don't know which Ron he's talking about. Phil took the pet to the beach. Hey, Phil, you never told us about your beach trip. You know what? You were bragging about all that, and we haven't heard nothing. So you need to fill us in on what's going on, buddy. Tonight we're not going to have our viewer rides. Obviously, I'm in my shop tonight. I'm not out with my son. I'm just doing this. There's Joe Bass. So that I don't have access to that stuff. My son does all that. So I want to hear Smokey Yunick stories. Love life. Smokey Yunick was a great guy. I was lucky to know him. I kind of consider him a friend, but he wasn't a friend. I mean, he wasn't somebody that I've seen all the time or anything. But whenever I seen him at the PRI show or a SEMA show or something like that, he knew who I was and we could chat. But he wasn't like a good friend. He was just what I would call more of an acquaintance than a friend. But great guy, had so much knowledge. And man, he was frisky and ornery as hell. And why he was so good at what he did. The problem with talking to him later in the years, before he passed, he was going deaf because he'd listen to all those engines with no ear protection, and he couldn't hardly hear anymore. So it was hard to talk with him because we were yelling him. I had to yell at him whenever I was having a conversation with him. Which makes it kind of uncomfortable in a crowd or in a room. But nope, I won't be able to make it to SEMA this year. Maybe next year. I'm hoping to anyway. Check viewers' rides. You know what? Can you guys get on there? I don't know how that works. My son takes care of all that, so I don't even know if you guys can go look at it right now or not. Maybe you can. Any updates on your repo aluminum round port heads? Thank you for wanting, and the only thing I can tell you is I just sent the tooling company more money. So yeah, they're working on it, and they have everything that they need. I went over there. I actually drove over and discussed everything with the guy that's done the designing and doing the tooling for me. And so I'm hoping, maybe a couple of weeks here, he'll have the tooling done. We can get it back to the foundry, and then we can get the foundry to pour some more samples, and then I can get them to Troy and have them things machined again, and make sure everything's the way I want it now. And so that's part of the R&D and development. Sometimes you get lucky. You hit it right out of the park on the first bat, but sometimes you don't. Most of the time you don't. So, but right now, we're moving forward again, which is really good. And I don't know if Deke's watching tonight, but he's treating me good. He's getting things done, and he's moving as fast as he can. So, Holly or Edelbrock? I'm not sure what they're asking about there. Maybe he's asking about what Trampus was just asking. Electric dual 12-inch fans, field devices, blah, 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 form brushless move fans there. There's only a few electric fans out there that I'll use. One of them, believe it or not, is the cheapest, is the Ford Taurus or Thunderbird electric fan. I love that thing. Moves, I don't know how much CFM, it's a lot, and we use just one, and it'll cool 750 horsepower engine. Everybody wants to help the R&D. Nobody wants to help pay for it, though. Oh, the better carburetor. You know what? I haven't played with that new Edelbrock carburetor. That new Edelbrock carburetor. Maybe I'll buy one of those and we'll dissect that thing on a podcast and see what it's all about. Because they have a new one. They got two new ones. They got a real good looking one that's manually adjustable with air bleeds and I think even emulsifying tubes and stuff like that. And then they have another one I think is programmed with a laptop, which is really intriguing to me because, man, wouldn't that be sweet? You could change jetting while you're driving down the road maybe, or for like a drag and drive kind of guy where you need more fuel for E85 and then you can convert it back to regular pump gas or whatever. I don't know. We'll look into that. That Mike, that's what kind of one I was just talking about. That one that Holly's or Edelbrock has another one, new one out. It looks kind of like a Holly, but it's and it's looks like it's really tunable. It's got a lot of tuning ability with different emulsifying tubes, air bleeds, and I think you can change the boosters. I don't know. That's a pretty trick carburetor. I know that Barry Grant tried to do that, and it didn't go so well with them. They had a problem with a bad tip in or hesitation whenever you accelerate, and I don't know the whole story. All I know is they couldn't get it figured out, and I think that's what actually ended up causing him to go out of business. And but maybe I'm wrong, so I don't know. So, hey Scott. Scott's got a badass hot rod we built for him too. He needs it. Hopefully, we can get some videos of his car. He did share one video. He was at a car show and he did a burnout of the car. He got a 65 Le Mans. It looks like a GTO. Beautiful car. I'm having Holly carb problems with my 78 Trans Am. Well, you know what? Every carburetor's got its problems. And sometimes it's not the carburetor, sometimes it's the fuel, sometimes it's a fuel pump. There's a lot of factors, so you got to look at the symptom and then try to be a detective and diagnose what the problem is of it. Is Norwalk still running? I don't know if they still are open now or not. They do the Halloween Classic, so or they used to. I don't know if they still do or not, because now Quaker City does it and 42 does it too, our local tracks here. So maybe it draws away from them too much. I don't know. I know that the Halloween Classic in Norwalk used to be huge. You would literally have to be up 24 hours a day because they would call you. They ran 24 hours, and you might get called at 3 o'clock in the morning, and if you miss your call, you're done. Hey, Reaper. Ron Merkel. I like my old school 800 Thermoquad. Those are pretty cool carburetors. They got 1,000 CFM Thermoquad too. Buick guys love them carburetors. It's technically a Chrysler carburetor, but Buick guys love them things. I think it's awesome that IHRA sold or bought 42. I'm happy because before I think it was owned by the bank, and obviously the bank are not track promoters, and they weren't doing a very good job. I heard. I haven't been to 42 since they redid it. I want to get back out there. That used to be one of my favorite tracks to go to. I spent a lot of time at that track, but I haven't been there in years. Actually, I haven't been in any track in years. So I haven't been able to race much lately. It looks like we're running out of time here, Phil. While we're at our hour almost, we're at 59 minutes and 8 seconds. So when did GM consolidate all their motors? 82-ish Cadillac, except Cadillac. Actually, they started doing that back in 1977, maybe even sooner than that. Because, well, it was sooner than that, because a lot of the Pontiacs would have a Chevy 6-cylinder in them back in '75, and all kinds of. I mean, they were hybrid engines a long time ago. Honey, bit of water holes and plugs sent coolant to the back. Need to be drilled. Many different hole drill locations by different builders. How do you do it? Scott, you have to. Maybe Phil can tell you because he shares a lot on there. But we have a separate email that my son set up, and hopefully Phil can share that with you. So you know what? You're right. Those holes in the block. So definitely do not, whenever you're using an aftermarket block, if you notice on the factory blocks, they don't have water holes in the top of the block in the front. And it's because of what Perry just said. What they do, if you put holes there, then the coolant is going to come through the water crossover in the intake manifold and run right back to the radiator. It's not going to get pushed to the back cylinders on the engine block, and your back rear cylinders, which already run hot anyway, are going to run really hot, and you're going to crack your block. So do not drill them top holes in the front of the block on an IA2 block or Kaufman block or whatever. It doesn't matter what block. Doesn't matter if it's a Ford or Chrysler. I don't care what it is. Do not put holes in the front of the block. The water has to be forced to the rear of the block or will not cool the rear cylinders. And we've experimented with some different size holes, kind of like a heating duct. You know how you start out small and gets bigger, bigger, bigger. And the first part offers more restriction. And then as it gets further back, the holes get bigger and bigger, which makes it easier for the coolant to get back there and come up through. So, and that seems to work pretty good, actually. Yeah, there's still a lot of old classics out there, guys. I gotta go too, and I mean, gotta go. In the thermostat, you only need an 1/8-inch hole. They won't let me share this on the site chat. It gets deleted. Huh, okay. Well, my son is not watching tonight, so I don't know. It's something, I think it's DCI Motorsports. I don't know. I'm going to screw it up, so I'm not going to tell you. But yeah, hopefully next week I'm back with my son and I'll share it again, or I'll find out. I need to write it down so I know what it is anyway. So, yes, just one hole. You don't need any more than that. And if you make it bigger than 1/8 of an inch, the engine will run too cool, believe it or not. So you got it, 1/8 inch is plenty big enough. So Philip's going to try a different way. DCI. Now he's going to break it up. Okay, let's see how that works. Yeah, please subscribe, guys, if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers this year. And when we started that, we were like 37 or 3,800, I think, when we started telling everybody that. And you guys have really done well. We're up to like 5,700 now. So we broke the 5,000. Now we're trying to get to 10,000. So please share my videos, tell your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And make sure and hit that like button because it helps YouTube know that the videos are liked so that they can share them with other people. So, okay, if you're getting that or not, Scott, but he's breaking that up for you. So it's DCIUnleashed@yahoo.com. So cool. Thank you, Phil. That was a great way to do that. That way you don't get flagged. All right, guys, I'm going to go eat supper. So thank you all for coming tonight, and watch for the video on this 389 behind me. And next week we'll hopefully have something fun to talk about. If you guys want to see anything in particular, make sure and send me a message or something, and we'll see if we can't do that. All right, guys. Well, hey, have a good night. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next week.